Hey, everybody, this is Andy Hall, and you're watching Best Advice Ever. Our guest today is Michael Alvear. Michael Alvear has been writing for 20 years, maybe more than 20 years, and he's been on WebMD and been all kinds of legitimate publications. He's also been on the Naked Diner podcast recently talking about his book, Revenge of the Hatless. It was an interesting discussion about Donald Trump and the deconstruction of Trumpism and its effects on people. How you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. This is the first time we've actually seen each other face to face, but even when we were talking on the Naked Diner, I just imagined that you were smiling.
Really? I imagined you much less ugly.
Oh, hey.
I'm kidding.
Well, I don't know how to feel about that. Maybe I'm on the spectrum a little bit, and I can only feel emotions with emojis. I don't know. So we should jump right into the questions. This is a show, of course, about the best advice you ever got professionally and the best tip you ever got in regards to being a better person. Which question do you want to start off with?
How about business?
All right, let's talk business. What was the best tip you ever got?
Think Yiddish, dress British.
I have no idea what that means. I know what Yiddish is. I know a couple of words.
It was said to me when I was about 25. I was a media buyer for an ad agency, and I was moving to Atlanta to take a new job. And the sales manager for one of the TV stations, because I was a media buyer, took me out to lunch because we had spent a lot of money on him. And that was his advice to me. Think Yiddish, dress British. And I laughed so hard. First of all, I'm half Jewish.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So what I got out of that was that what he was saying was you have to look and act and present yourself in a certain way, which may or may not be consistent with what your goal is. And so he was a very funny guy. And, I was in sales for a long time, and, I was both on the buying side and the selling side. And I think he's absolutely right. If you want to persuade people, you have to play the part.
Right.
So I just thought it was a very funny thing, and it always stuck with me for the rest of my life.
That's pretty cool, because I think a lot of people who are in the arts don't realize that they just can't be good at their art.
Right.
They have to be able to package it.
Right. And close to that, I would say the other quote that was for my business side, because I was in business for 20, 30 years, and then I turned into an author, and which reminds me of that old saying: if you want to make a small fortune as an author, start with a large one.
That's safe. I like that.
But there was something that an editor had said to me that I just thought was so interesting. Because this is what she said, and at first I didn't get it, and then I laughed so hard. She said, "I'm sorry and I apologize are exactly the same, except at a funeral." And it took me a while to realize, what does she mean? Why would you say I apologize at a funeral?
Right.
Murder. The deceased. And that was a really great one for me as a writer, because it made me think about word choice and context.
Yeah.
It was a really great way of getting me to think about what I was writing.
That's interesting, because I know that we were talking on the podcast about you write about sex at times.
Yes.
And I imagine your word choice has to be very specific for the audience that you're writing for.
Yes. You don't ever want to confuse the words rape and seduction.
No. No. You don't.
Sorry. Wrong context.
Have you given that advice to anybody? I mean, the idea about thinking Yiddish and dressing British. Have you ever given that advice to anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just a funny way of saying, be rapacious. But, another way of saying it is like, I can't remember. There was an actress who said, gentlemen are nothing but patient wolves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought that was just funny.
Those are all good emblems for T-shirts or swag.
Yes.
That's what that is, man. That's great. So what's the best tip you ever got for being a better person?
Think Yiddish, speak British. It has a dual processor in that. That's probably it's a saying that I've repeated in my sex advice columns and in my books, and it was what was it? Love will drop in your lap, but you've got to take your lap places.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought that was kind of a metaphor, not just for finding love or sex, but really just to be engaged in life. But nothing is going to happen to you if you sit at home.
This is true, and not only do you have to bring your lap places, but like you pretty much gave reference to, you got to bring your head with your lap too. You have to be there, present,
right,
and not inaccessible to people.
Right. You have to bring both heads.
Right.
The one on your lap and the one on your neck.
Is that a common problem? Is that in your experience as a writer, do people just stay home thinking or hoping that something's going to land in their lap?
Are you talking about love and sex, or?
Yeah, about love.
Oh yeah, I mean you can see it with all the apps.
Oh yeah.
There was a great survey that just came out. It comes out every year about the sex habits of Americans, and it showed that for the first time since they started tracking this for like 30 or 40 years, this generation is having less sex than the generation before it.
I saw that.
That was like amazing, and part of the reason were the apps, because they're such a time suck, and you're not anywhere. You're just at home or in the office or in the bathroom, just kind of like going like that, and nothing ever seems to happen.
I think everyone has a list of qualities or characteristics that they're looking for in another person, but they seem to be a lot more rigid with those traits, with what they're looking for when they're online than when they are in person. Have you found that out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always tell people, burn your list, because it's just another way of you putting an obstacle in the way of connecting to people. Because what better way to say, well, I'm not going to look at my list. He doesn't fit anything on the list, or, it's a self-imposed obstacle. And the truth is that chemistry doesn't have logic to it. And when you build a list, you're being really logical about certain things. And that's not, if you're really looking for love doesn't obey the laws of logic.
It's almost as if your forebrain goes out of its way to kill off your midbrain.
I just think it's self-destructive to do it. Not self-destructive. It's self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to say I would prefer, like I'll give you a perfect example. My 82-year-old mother is on the apps and she's killing it.
Oh my God.
She's 82. And she meets this wonderful guy who's a Trump supporter.
Okay.
Right? And she's like, I can't do it. That's on my list. But, the guy is actually intelligent and he's funny, and he never brings up politics because in deference to her. And, they've been going to hell. Like,
That's great. That's a great story.
it's just like you look at a list and you go, oh, no, I can't, and, I think it's more like, oh, no, you won't. No, you can't. You've decided to make this thing. People have lists. I don't want a smoker. He's got to make more money than I do, or I've got to make more money than her. There's all these things, but it's like when it comes to actually engaging and connecting with people, those things don't matter.
Right. For me, I've always done better in person, because when you look at my resume or the what I wrote on OkCupid, it's clever, or at least I think it's clever. But once you get past, I'm a hard sell. That's what it is.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's the quirky, idiosyncratic. But when I'm in person, I can do the Andy magic. I can put on my horse and pony show. I might say something clever. But I've always found that I've been more successful in person.
I would think that you'd be cleaning up. You're a good-looking guy. You're a straight, sensitive guy.
Well,
doesn't want that, right? You're like picking off. Talk about lists. You're like,
believe me. Well, I am bi, so that's one thing. But to all the other things, it's I have found that women my age who are looking for a long-term relationship definitely want someone who can be their travel buddy or go on these long vacations. And I'm like, well, I have a life and I'm doing things and I'm hustling, and it isn't really as easy for me to do the lifestyle that you're looking for.
Right.
That seems to be more of an impediment to people online, at least. Now I am in a great relationship with a woman. I've been dating her for the last 9 months or so. But before that, I think those have been some of the issues, at least.
Right.
But I'll definitely say that Michael Alvear, famed author, recommends me to.
It's like the bad housekeeping seal of approval.
That's right. I think there has to be some kind of watermark for that, right? So I think those are two great pieces of advice. The idea about thinking Yiddish and dressing British, something that I fail to do, to tell you the truth, because I think I can think funny, but I don't always present myself in the best way. And of course, the idea about going out there and being present while you're out there too. I think those are two great pieces of advice.
It's worked for me.
Yeah, that's great. So, where can people find you online, Michael?
I have a very small online presence in terms of but it's mostly through my books. You just go to Amazon, Apple, Google, any indecent bookstore, and you will find my stuff. And and it's really interesting because I made my mark writing sex, but my biggest bestseller is actually a weight loss book, which is kind of odd because I've never been fat, but.
Well, that's a good person to know about, not being fat, I imagine.
Yeah, and it's sort of like all my friends just roll their eyes because they can't believe that I've written a best-selling book about weight loss without ever really being fat. But, that's really what the book is about, how I actually did lose 15 pounds in 2 waist sizes, but it's really more about how I kept it off, because my whole thing is that you don't need a diet plan. You need an eating strategy, and the book is really more about how to painlessly have self-control over food.
Painlessly have self-control over food.
I use techniques that psychologists use to get people off of drugs.
Oh,
and it's something that actually happened to me. That's what gave me the idea for the book, is that I was hooked on Klonopin,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which actually is the first time I've ever said that publicly. But with all the awareness about
Sure.
drug addiction, and I made the mistake of just getting off of it. And I don't know if you know anything about benzos, but you can't just get off them.
Right.
I found that out the hard way. Remember the scene in the Ray Charles movie where he was quitting cold turkey? That's what it
Yeah.
was like.
Yeah.
So I ended up, going to a psychiatrist for 15 minutes at a shot because that's the only thing the insurance would do. And he basically stepped me down so imperceptibly that my body had no reaction.
That's
So,
impressive.
and that's what the book is about, how you change your eating habits so imperceptibly that your body doesn't go into the fight or flight syndrome of a diet. And then over time, you just get this sort of permanent weight loss because you've changed your eating strategies.
And the name of the book is Eat It Later?
Eat it later. Yeah.
Right, right. I was looking at it on your Amazon author page.
Check it out. It's a really different book because it doesn't tell you what to eat.
I'm fascinated because I'm trying to lose some weight myself right now, and I'm going to see my doctor tomorrow to do a checkup. And so I'll check it out, Dave, because I'm all about the painless part.
Right. Yes, it is painless.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Michael.
Always a pleasure, Andrew. Thanks for having
Yeah. Hey, good luck with the writing.
me. Thanks. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Sure.
All right. Take care.